or anything else down. And really all we have had over the last couple of days are some spotty showers, brief isolated downpours. Don't amount to much of anything. Had some rumbles of thunder here in the city. Those showers gone. A couple of showers passing across the Larangier area just to the north of Hammond, as well as a little bit of activity around and just to the west of Houma and around the Shell Beach, Hopedale areas. So doing any boating out there, a little bit of thunderstorm activity at the moment. Rain chances over the next several days are going to stay on the lower side because of an upper level high. A heat dome building back in doesn't mean we get rid of all rainfall, but our rain chances are going to be greatly reduced. So we stayed under mostly sunny skies today and a pretty afternoon, but also a hot one. 91 is our current temperature, but the high today got up to 95. Again, we're not dealing with records, which can get into the triple digits. However, with temperatures in the mid 90s, high dew points, mid upper 70s, those heat indices do get into the triple digits. And at times we start getting into that 110 plus range. We got there today at times this afternoon, and will likely again for tomorrow. So we will have another heat advisory in effect for almost the entirety of the area for tomorrow. And I'm thinking our conditions are not going to change much temperature, humidity wise into the weekend. So I would imagine we will likely see more of those heat advisories for Saturday and Sunday. Current temperatures are in the 90s, but again, factor in the humidity with those dew points in the mid 70s. It feels more like the upper 90s and triple digits. In the upper atmosphere, you can clearly see this kind of big spin out to our east. This is that big upper level high. This is what is building in over us. That is going to dominate for Friday, the weekend. And as we head further into early next week, the upper high actually starts to weaken somewhat and shift a bit to the north. I don't think it's going to do much for our temperatures, but at least weakening that upper heat dome means temperatures start getting a little bit closer to normal levels. So more mid 90s for the weekend, lower 90s for next week. Again, it is August. So you don't see dramatic temperature swings. Big storms actually been up to our north where they're getting some cooling rainfall there. For us, rain coverage has been fairly limited. About 20-30% of the area saw rainfall during the day today. Now the models for tomorrow, kind of interesting. They're a little bit more aggressive. Some coastal thunderstorms as we get the morning started. So hopefully a fairly dry morning commute, school and work. And then by the midday and afternoon hours, may get some heavier thunderstorms around. Again, there is still plenty of moisture. So what showers we do see can at times become heavy. The main risk though, street flooding, not really flash flooding type of moisture in the atmosphere right now. Out in the tropics, as we had mentioned at the top of the newscast, we have Aaron as well as our tropical wave, which the Hurricane Center, just based on the thunderstorm development over the last day, has really increased. So they have increased the chance of this maybe becoming a named storm, or if nothing else, maybe a depression before moving inland. Thunderstorm activity has certainly been very healthy. Now, whether or not those are actually developing around a core or the semblance of any kind of a center is not really being shown on satellite and even the high resolution data. The hurricane hunters are flying into it just to get more data. If this is going to become a named storm, it's not going to have a very long life cycle, as by tomorrow mid-afternoon it is already moving inland, and primarily this is just going to be a rainmaker. Doesn't have a whole lot of time to gather much steam with regards to stronger winds or even stronger surf and rip current and storm surge. That really isn't much of an issue because this is going to have a very brief window to stay out over those warm Gulf waters. And again, by tomorrow mid-afternoon, it's already inland. Tropical storm Aaron is likely to become our first hurricane and possibly major hurricane of the season. Convection, the thunderstorms around that center have been very healthy over the last day and a half, and that is likely to continue. That turn toward the northwest and then eventually north is because of a break in the upper level ridge. Once that happens, it's going to follow that upper level high off to its east and basically ride around the high. Again, the question of how close it gets to the east coast is still somewhat in debate, but it looks like enough of a break to keep it well off the coast. Doesn't mean we don't have some impacts with regards to maybe higher surf and maybe even some rip currents there, but not an impact, meaning the storm is not going to be moving inland over the east coast. So certainly some good news there. 40% chance of rain during the day tomorrow, probably about like what we saw today, maybe just a few more of those isolated downpours, and then really just a 30% chance of rain going into the weekend with highs mid 90s and then more lower 90s heading further into next week.